Canvas Studio presents a Deerfish production. Say, what would you trade me for this stack of pancakes? No, I'm not talking about money. You see, back in the old days before the concept of money, many used to trade one another valuable items one needed. If one person had wheat, the other might trade him some potatoes for it. A simple way of life that seemed to have been destroyed thanks to money. So, tell me, for the stack of pancakes, what would you trade me? Greetings! I am the Storyteller. Tonight I bring to you a tale from a collection of stories, so sit back and relax, allow yourself to get enveloped by my words, and envision the world that comes off from my pages. Ah, what a wonderful day we have today. Kenneth Rivers, who had just turned 25 last month, stood out on his porch. He stretched out his sleeping body, and with a successful pop from his left shoulder, he let out a nice, relaxing ah. He walked towards the railing of his porch, allowing himself to view the beautiful day that came. Birds chirped when the sea of trees that lined his property. Up in the sky there was no sight of any clouds, letting the bright blue sky shone. Enjoying the beautiful scene before him, he took in a deep breath of air. With a heavy exhale, he felt as if he had reawakened. Suddenly, as he held onto the railing of his porch, he felt something, and that something soon turned into a large crack. Within moments, part of his railing had cracked up to his hand. He stepped away, coming to find that parts of the railing had become the victim of wood rot. He knelt down to examine it. Damn, was it that old? He sighed. He stood back up, looking over his property. I wonder if anything else needs fixing today. Kenneth took a trip around his property. He spotted a few odds and ends that needed to be fixed, but nothing too major, until he stepped around the back side of his cabin. There he noticed a small crack in a pipe. He felt his happy expression from this morning drained from him. The pipe was his water line, and if not fixed, he wouldn't have any water. He slumped down, shaking his head. Guess I have my work cut out for me today. The sun crawled through the cloudless sky. It was past noon when Kenneth had finished the railing and smaller issues. Now came the hardest part of his day, the broken pipe. Kenneth searched around in his shed. He found a couple of things he could use, but the main thing he wanted was stashed away in the back. He moved around the storage totes, managing to grab the item he desired, a welding torch. However, the tip of his torch had been worn. He messed around with it to get a spark, with no avail. He clicked his tongue in anger. Shit! He stepped out from his shed, staring at the pipe. He could probably do a makeshift fix, but no, he wasn't the type of person to do that. Why wait to actually fix something when it's needed now? He looked out to the long dirt road that led from his property. He could make it into town, but with how the sun was going, he wouldn't be home until late. Doing this kind of repair at night isn't the best idea. Yet it had to be done. That pipe was his one source of water. With an annoying sigh, he made his way to his home to prepare for the trip into town. That is when something like a small whistle entered his ears. Following the sound, he ran out to the middle of his property. The sound grew louder, but it also sounded higher. With a confused look, he held his head back to look up and became shocked at the sight he saw. Above him in the sky was a strange cone-shaped object. It hovered above while a few lights sparkled on its frame. Kenneth watched as it began to slowly descend in front of him, its metal body twisting around and around before drilling itself into the ground. Once tightly snugged into the ground, the lights dwindled. Kenneth stayed on guard, and before a thought could form in his mind, a door-sized opening appeared. Light shined forth in a pattern of stairs from the opening. Kenneth inched forward to see inside the craft, but stopped when a strange, tall figure emerged. He watched it step after step come down the stair of lights. With the final step putting it on the same level, Kenneth couldn't believe what he saw. A tall humanoid with dark green skin. It had long arms that ended in long fat fingers, and bare feet with 2 sharp toes. Its only clothing were 2 silver armbands and something that reminded Kenneth of shorts, silver also in color, that ended at the knees. However, the strangest thing about this being wasn't its skin color nor its clothing, but the face. The long neck that led up to a round feature that held no eyes or nose, but had a long slit that seemed to be a mouth, as whenever it opened it seemed to be when the being was breathing. Kenneth eyed over the being, coming to find a sort of eye staring back at him in the same steadying manner. The eyes for this being were located on his shoulders. Alien? Kenneth muttered softly. The being held up a hand in an awkward motion and tried his best to wave. Perplexed by this motion, Kenneth returned the wave. The being reached up to his long neck. Kenneth watched its hand slide along something that looked like a choker. A bright blue color shined after it slid its fingers over it. Then, from the strange round feature came a voice.
Is this the planet known as Earth?
Kenneth was taken aback. Did this alien just speak English? The alien blinked.
Did I pick the wrong planet?
It reached out its hand to that strange choker, swiped again. This time the color turned green. Once more it spoke, but this time it was a stranger sound, much like Morse code but with more static. Seeing Kenneth's bewildered expression, the alien swiped again to a red color. This time its speech was a deep, guttering growls that came in clicks. Kenneth, realizing that the choker was a translator for the alien, he stood firm and shook his head. Ah, sorry, yes, this is Earth. The alien blinked twice and swiped up until it returned to the bright blue color.
So, I was correct.
Kenneth nodded. Sorry, but I must admit seeing an alien for the first time took me by surprise.
Ah, yes, alien. That is a word to describe beings like myself.
The alien spoke.
Forgive me if I startle you, Teteran.
Tatarian? Kenneth tilted his head a bit.
Ah, again, forgiveness. That is the word my kind uses to describe your species.
The alien scratched the top of his round mouth.
I guess the word used by your kind is human?
Yeah, that's right, Kenneth said. And what do I call your kind?
My species are called Kiaturans.
That's a mouthful, Kenneth said, jokingly. Do you have your own name? The alien's eyes perked up a bit.
Ah, yes. Though the tactic is new to my species, my name is Tulu.
New? Kenneth never heard that name before. Then again, he's never seen a real flesh-blooded alien. Tulu nodded his mouth much like one would nod their head.
Yes, for years my kind went without names. It wasn't until a few years ago we adopted the concept of names for individuals.
I see. Kenneth's eyes drifted towards the strange spacecraft. And I take it that's something your kind created? Tulu turned to the ship with his arms crossed.
Ah, that sadly my kind is not as developed as much. This ship was one of many that we gained after trading with other species who visited our planet.
Trading?
Yes, our planet has a very valuable mineral. Those who come to our planet trade with my species for it. Thanks to that, we have developed somewhat in a very few years.
Tulu turned around to give himself a full view of the ship.
With these few ships, we're given a few of my kind, along with myself, travel offering that which we have to others, in hopes of gaining something new and unique to bring home.
Kenneth whistled in amazement. That's kind of cool if I'm honest. He scratched at his chin. Is that why you came here? Tulu nodded again.
Yes, I always heard stories from others who have visited this planet that Earth is full of wonders.
Tulu examined the sky, the ground, the trees, and even Kenneth's home.
I had to come and see it for myself. However,
Tulu paused.
where's everyone else?
Kenneth smirked. Oh, that. He stared up at the sky. If anyone was in Tulu's position, he would think Kenneth was just staring up at nothing but the blue sky and clouds. Yet, in actuality, Kenneth stared at something that had been outside of the earth, something that he would always give a glance to when he woke every day. There, out beyond the earth, flying around the planet, was a satellite. You might not have seen it when you descended depending on its route, but everyone is up there, all stored on a single piece of metal.
Up in space?
Tulu asked. He tilted his body in a way to look upward. Yeah, Kenneth said, drawing out while scratching his head. Save for myself and a few others, everyone else on the planet digitized themselves onto a machine.
Oh, I believe another species did the same. I forget their name, but when they visit, they tend to use temporary machine bodies.
So there are others like that? I wonder why they did it then, Kenneth said, his eyes narrowing.
I'm not sure. I think one told me it was to help with population control.
Tulu said.
How about yours?
Mine? Well, I guess you could say it's population too, but that isn't the case. Kenneth kicked up some dirt with his left boot. You see, my kind wasn't exactly kind to our planet. Along with wars and climate change, even with a disease popping up, my kind thought it better to escape it all. So when a company created a virtual reality to live in, everyone hopped on board.
Your kind left to escape?
Kenneth nodded. Yep, sure our planet had damage, but instead of trying to help fix it, they all turned away. Kenneth sighed. That's the sad reason why there aren't many humans left on this planet. Tulu's eyes became wide.
How many left?
Well, our planet had a population of 7.8 billion, but now I guess, what, maybe 100 are left?
To believe that many of your kind left, that is surprising.
Tulu's eyes darted from tree to tree.
From my own eyes, the planet seems healthy.
Well, that happens when years go by without anyone to damage it, Kenneth smirked. It gives the planet time to heal. A passing wind brushed past the two. Kenneth swept back his hair. Well then, he paused. So you said you were here wanting to trade, right? With something you could call a smirk, Tulu pulled out a device from one of his pockets. He clicked it, which opened another door from his ship. Kenneth, with curious eyes, watched starstruck as a long silver table floated out from the door down towards Tulu, landing neatly in front of him.
Now come and see what I have to offer. All I ask is for you to give me something unique so I can take back to my planet.
Kenneth walked over, examining the strange, peculiar items laid out on the table. If anything could be called alien, these items were the definition of it. Kenneth wanted to pick one up to further look it over, but he was too scared. He feared the slightest touch could make it go off.
If you're curious on what they do, let me know. I'll be sure to inform you.
Tulu stated. Kenneth stared at every item carefully. It was such a strange moment to be in. Here he was looking over alien devices with an alien offering to trade him one for something he had. Yet, what could he trade that could compare in all of these devices? He hovered a finger over a small grate-like device that almost reminded him of a TV remote. What does this device do? Tulu picked up the device.
This is,
He paused once more for a moment, thinking on the right word.
hmm, not sure if your kind had a device like this, but it can heal pieces by putting them back together.
Back together like glue?
Glue? I'm not sure what that is, but it uses heat. It works really good on metals.
Kenneth's mouth dropped. Like a welding device?
I might need to look that up in my language text.
Tulu added. Kenneth stared at his house, his mind flashing to the damaged pipe. Think we can test it out?
Absolutely.
Tulu said with glee. Kenneth led Tulu to the back side of his house. He pointed to the busted water pipe line, explaining his goal to Tulu. Tulu nodded with understanding, kneeling down towards the pipe. He held up the device, going over each button with careful intent. He pressed a red-colored button which sparked the top of the device. He held the device above the damaged piece of pipe. With precision that only a wielder could understand, Tulu sealed the damaged piece, making it almost look brand new. Kenneth's jaw hung open. He couldn't believe how fast the pipe was fixed. Even with a normal welding equipment, it wouldn't get done that fast.
How does that fare?
Tulu asked. Amazing! Kenneth reached for the device which Tulu handed to him. Kenneth looked it up and down. I can't believe it. One of his fingers lightly touched the button, making the device fire at a nearby tree, slicing off a small branch. Kenneth quietly handed back the device to Tulu, who let out a deep bellowing laugh.
Now, the real question, what do you have to offer for this trade?
Tulu asked, his eyes narrowed. Kenneth thought long and hard about that. Hell, he's been thinking about a lot of things since Tulu's ship landed. Now here he was with something amazing that could help him in his day-to-day life, with nothing to trade for it. His mind raced with all the things humanity had crafted in a lifetime, yet one by one all of those faded. Some were lost, others couldn't even be made without help, and some weren't even grand enough to trade for such a powerful alien device. Just then, in those thoughts that led Kenneth to despise, came a sound. It was a very strange sound, however, Kenneth had heard something like it before. He glanced at his alien visitor to see him rubbing his lower abdomen. Something the matter? Kenneth asked.
Sorry about that. It's unprofessional for me to be in such a way.
What way is that? Kenneth asked with a sly smile.
Well, I ate through my rations on my travels here, so I haven't had anything to eat in a while.
How long of a while? Kenneth asked.
Ever since I passed that red planet.
Tulu replied. Red planet? Oh, Mars! Kenneth looked up. That's a long way to go without eating. Then something lit inside his head, making Kenneth have a big grin. You said you're looking for unique trades.
Yes, that's right.
I might have something. Tulu sat patiently at a small wooden table while Kenneth worked in his kitchen. He watched in amazement at the different ingredients Kenneth used. Kenneth informed Tulu each of the ingredients, which Tulu gazed over with an intense flair. Eggs, butter, milk, and batter. With his frying pan oiled up, Kenneth poured enough of his mixture to make one flat shape-like object. Tulu's eyes widened as he watched Kenneth flat it once more to make sure it was a neat round shape. He watched Kenneth flip it back and forth until it was golden brown. Kenneth went on 3 more times, ending his work by covering the 4 golden brown circles with syrup and a slice of butter. He pushed it in front of Tulu with a knife and fork. A famous Earth food. You can have it whenever. Tulu's mouth dripped with drool with a single whiff.
What is this?
He asked, his eyes shining with a gloss much like the syrup. Pancakes, Kenneth said with glee. I hope it's enough for that device. They're not in the same category, but I hope you enjoy them.
Cakes?
Tulu grabbed his knife and fork. He observed those tools for a brief moment, then he went forward cutting into the pancakes. He picked up one slice, it dripped with gooey syrup. He proceeded to bring it to his mouth. With no hesitation, he shoved it in. Kenneth watched his mouth munch it down. He didn't swallow it, almost as if he wanted to savor the flavor. With a swallow that Kenneth could see travel down the long neck, Tulu's eyes widened and his mouth reopened, letting out a long screech like a gecko. His eyes darted down to the pancake. Kenneth chuckled at watching Tulu down the entire snack.
This is good. No, what word does your kind use that's better than good? Great? Excellent? No, it's more.
Tulu shouted. I'm happy to hear you like it, Kenneth said.
I heard from others who visited Earth that your kind has many sorts of delicious food, but to actually be able to try it myself?
Tulu wiped away the drool from his mouth, thanks to a napkin Kenneth gave him.
I do believe I found something to bring back.
Wait, you mean you'll actually trade me this for that device? Kenneth asked. Tulu nodded.
Yes, but please teach me the way of making these pancakes.
Will do. Luckily, I did a quick stockpile on food the other week. Kenneth popped his knuckles. Let's get down to it. Tulu carefully listened to Kenneth's instructions. The first pancake wasn't that much good looking, but the second one turned out exactly as the others Kenneth made earlier. After a quick munch down on the 2, Kenneth wrote out everything on a pad of paper for Tulu. He gave half of his ingredients to him, and then Kenneth went even so far to give Tulu his second bottle of syrup. With that, the trade was complete. Still, Kenneth couldn't believe he was given such a powerful device for such a quick and simple meal. Tulu returned Kenneth's kindness of the bottle of syrup by giving him 2 extra battery packets. I can't thank you again, Tulu, Kenneth said.
Same to you.
Tulu replied.
I can't wait to go back and share with the others.
I know it's not much, but I hope your people love it.
Oh, we will carefully examine it. That ingredient? Batter? We have a similar type we use to make some of our food.
Tulu's eyes lit up again.
Oh, maybe if I come back again, I can share some of our foods.
Food from another planet, Tenefgran? I would love to try that.
Until the next time we meet.
Tulu reached back into his pocket, pulling out the device from earlier. He pressed the same button, and his table full of trades re-entered the ship. With another click, he pressed a different button, which summoned forth a single step of light in front of him. When he stepped on the first step, a secondary step appeared. He followed each step that came after until he reached the door of his ship. Tulu paused to admire the sight of Earth. He turned around to Kenneth, this time giving him a proper wave. Kenneth watched Tulu re-enter his ship. The same way he had landed, Tulu's ship slowly ascended into the sky, twisting around and around. The lights Kenneth witnessed at first returned, shimmering with colors. Much like it arrived, the ship departed from Kenneth's sight. He stood silent for a moment. Turning back to his small little cabin, he still couldn't fathom what all transpired. From a seemingly normal day to something only crafted in fiction, Kenneth couldn't stop himself from smiling. He held up the strange alien device he had traded for. He turned back to stare at the spot Tulu's ship had left from. Life's full of surprises. He walked back to his cabin, still reeling from everything. When a hand on his door, he chuckled a thought to himself. I wonder what tomorrow will bring. Maybe I'll see a chupacabra. It looks like Kenneth got his goal accomplished. Not only that, but he showed off a delicious meal for others in the universe to enjoy. I wonder how they enjoy their pancakes. Hopefully they add a lot of syrup to it. I would like to thank all of you for joining me tonight, and I do hope you enjoyed this tale. This is farewell for now. However, remember these words, everyone, though these might sound like mere words of fiction to you. For the ones who live within these pages, it is a reality.